Good evening, good evening. Good evening, Corey.
Good evening, Yann. How are you, my mate?
Well, interrupted because for some reason David Moyes has come back to Everton, changed up my schedule the day of the press conference and all this sort of stuff. I've lost track of when we're doing these. And you and I both, I'm going to drop you in it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. If you, like us, are in the middle of your dinner. So you might be sat there watching. I'm sure there are plenty of broadcasters available because at the moment it's the middle of the Bristol City, Sheffield United playoff, and it's midway through the first half. So thank you for joining us. Football. It's always moving. But yeah, how are you doing, Corey?
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. Probably only just over that throwaway last weekend. So and only
it did feel like a 2-2 loss, didn't it? Just as much as if you've seen all the adverts that we've been, mentioned in peripherally in Paddy Power, when Peter Reid mentions we beat them 2-2 at Anfield.
Yeah, that's it. It's and that's what it feels like when you've got 2 goals and you're cruising against a team that's struggling and relegated. It's just so frustrating, isn't it, that you've got to experience that. And not just that, but it was the occasion as well. People like yourself, okay, yeah, you'll be going to the game against Southampton, but it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. It's going to be the only time we can actually experience it, as opposed to thinking of the looming. You've not got the weight of it being the last ever game. So, yeah, it's the occasion as much as anything that's threw it away and made it feel as bitter as it is. So I can only imagine how you would feel actually being at the match as well.
Oh, I'm having less fun at the football than I am with my dinner. No, it was it's rather frustrating. But speaking of consistency and flying, well, not speaking of it or it being elusive, what's happened to Fulham?
Yeah, I mean they're literally such an inconsistent side. They've not had a draw since I think it was the first game of the calendar year.
Hey, John.
Hi, John. Hi, Peter. Hi, Eugene. So yeah, that's it. That was their last draw. They had a bunch of draws throughout December, I think it was, and they've not had anything since the 5th of Jan. So they win or they lose, which they're coming up against a team that only really seems to be able to draw at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, and when we have done, it's been inconsistent. But I mean, I'm just thankful that we've got the points in the bag because Peter's brought it up here. He's not particularly optimistic. And by the way, do get your mention of other things in because it seems as if maybe it's just me, but me and Corey, but we seem to feel as if the football match has been overshadowed by the announcements over the post-match Southampton, the announcements over Goodison, links with players leaving and players coming in, or, and players out of contract, just all sorts of stuff. So yeah, get the comments in. We'll try and cover them as much as possible. But Peter, yeah, I mean, are you optimistic, Corey?
I am, because of the inconsistent nature of Fulham, it's a game that can go either way. And we are better set up to counter-attack teams. Even under Moyes, we'll press a bit higher, but we're set up better to counter-attack. So while I can see Peter's prediction very much coming true, they score, they'll just go ahead and steamroll us. I can see that certainly happening. But I can also see that it's just as inevitable or just as possible that we can get a win from that game, a 1-0 or a 2-0. We catch them on the break, we push high up.
But tactically, you say that, and I can't speak to Fulham's style of play too much. But I do know that they like the rapid breakaway on the wings and the channels with the diagonal balls or Anthony Robinson and Willian. And Iwobi's a very forward, dynamic player, and he was at Everton. I don't want to dwell on the past, but I don't want to downplay that. He knew where the goal was, and he knew what his job was, and whether he could do it or not was a different thing. But the issue for me is normally tactically you see a lot of teams try to push the ball out to the fringes. Now Everton will do that. They'll sit off and happily defend, but will encourage the opposition to try to play down the middle. We're basically saying, no, we're so well set up. We don't need to force you out wide and keep the ball away from goal. Come on, which is very interesting because I don't know how then we're going to set up because all season we've had conversations and for several years about the weakness and the exposure that we have with our fullbacks going forward and who's the consistency and the speed and the coverage and all these kind of things. So do you think that's going to be the basis for us being opened up at Fulham? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but the reason you're saying it.
Yeah, the way they play, certainly, like you've hit the nail on the head. The concern is Patterson, who I still want to play because I want to see more of him, see what he's got. It's still a chance for him to show. Maybe it's a position that we might not have to strengthen him as much in the summer. But Anthony Robertson's got a lot of pace. He can really turn him inside out. So he's going to have to be on his game defensively. I hope McNeil's prepared to come back and support him. But then also as well, like you said, in the middle, they're actually quite strong now. We've seen it, how we were bypassed in the middle against Brighton.
Is it Harvey Bart? No, who's
so,
the short lad that they've got? Number 6 or number 8?
Number 6 and number 8. They've got Pereira, they've got Emil Smith-Rowe, Alex Iwobi.
Harrison Reed. Harrison Reed is quite
yeah. Who always seems to have a blinder against us as well. So, but they've got a good bit of energy in the midfield where they could undo is they could carve through quite easily again in the transition or cutting it wide. Players like Anthony Robinson against like Nathan Patterson could be a struggle. So look, there's a lot to be worried about there going against this Fulham team. They've still got Europe to play for.
There's only a lot to be worried about. Well, from my mind, there's a lot to be worried about from a symbolism point of view, because you just know that it's typical that's Everton that we're gonna go Anthony Robinson and Iwobi are gonna score 2 blinders or cock-ups from, I don't know. But Peter said we've sold Iwobi to Fulham, but he's doing better. And he thinks that Silva's sacking was one of the most unjustified. But John conversely said Iwobi isn't great. I mean, I do have some regrets. It's difficult. The grass always seems greener. I don't have regrets about selling him, but I've ended up with regrets based upon who we've had subsequently. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but that's the thing is that in that case, it's not about Iwobi. It's about Everton, which it should always be about us, not about the player. But in this scenario, it's very much so about Iwobi, because Iwobi was actually good. I think he was a lot better than what he got credit for. He put a lot of graft. He was quite creative, but the way we played never worked around him. He's gone to a team. We play a lot more progressive. They give him a lot more freedom and trust, and he's working well down there. He's probably a lot more comfortable back home in London as well. So it's just it's the perfect storm for him. It's the perfect zeitgeist for him to perform better and to perform where he should be. I'm still not worried about us getting rid of him. Yeah, it is always a little bit bitter to see him doing so well when we're not. But that's just a bit of opportunity cost kind of thing. So doesn't bother me. The issue is we need to get our house in order, and hopefully that's what we're going to do going forward. And at that point, then we won't be too bothered. We won't miss him.
I mean, speaking of getting our house in order, I feel like the news today or the conversation about the football is very secondary based on the revelations about the end of the day, the parties or the celebration for Goodison and the honours and the players, but also the announcement about the women's team. Now, do you think that's sorry, we're going wildly off tangents. We should probably stick to Fulham, shouldn't we? I know there's so much else to talk about. It's difficult not to. And then Ryan jumped on early doors, didn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, what we could do, we'll talk a few more minutes about Fulham. There's not much to mention because, let's be honest, for our side of things, it's pretty much a dead rubber.
Well, I don't know. You say that, though. But is it likely, considering the conversation we've had about Beto, is it likely we're starting to see at least a media narrative where DCL comes back in form? Because there's already been conversations about the players not being good enough, and the one that is injury prone. So is he worth holding on to? So is it a case of big clear out by somebody else like Liam Delap? Does it look like it's the pieces of the jigsaw are falling into place that way?
Yeah, I think so. David Moyes said after, I think he said beforehand, but it didn't get released till after the game against Ipswich, that Everton have got money to spend this season. So I can see us spending cumulatively upwards of 100 million. Now, that won't be 100 million as is, with instalments, amortization. It'll be a lot cleverer than that, and it won't seem nowhere near as much. But so there's a lot there to go with. Now, there's a couple of different ways of thinking about it. Do we just cut our ties and get rid of him because he's not got much to offer us?
Does that mean we're going to see him play? Do you think we're likely to? Because the few minutes that we saw him against, what's the point in that if it's not going to build to something?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is what I could see happening is Moyes wants to take a look at him because although I don't subscribe to this view of keeping him, Moyes' first game back, he scored that goal against Spurs. He done very, very well. Maybe a different striker, new lease of life for him, as was for Beto. He might show that he can actually score. If that's the case and he's willing to take less money, he could be a starting striker, and it's one less position for us to have to fill. It's 30, 20, 15 more million in our pockets to spend elsewhere. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the case, and I don't think it will be, but if Moyes wants to try that and see, I don't have an issue at all with that being the course of action in terms of us checking to see how he plays. I've got no issues with that at all. I'd still like Beto to, I don't know if you missed that, Yann, but I'd still like Beto to get some more game time. Two reasons for that is he's got 7 goals this season in the league.
He's been statistically. Look, that's the thing for me. I was about to say, look, are we seeing the needle turn back toward, or the pendulum swing towards DCL, or was it just a case of building his fitness up in the hopes of flogging him or seeing where he stands or what he might have left in the tank? Because statistically, whether he's wiles unfinished, whether he can't quite distribute the killer ball or lay it off correctly, statistically, he's getting results more than DCL.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been doing a prep for a little transfer show, a little transfer episode that we're going to do at some point. And part of that is looking in depth on statistics. Now, when you actually look at Beto's statistics in terms of goal outputs, especially, he's getting a goal every 2 games roughly, which is fantastic. If he plays maybe not every single game in a season, but if he has a 30-game season where he starts all the games, he's scoring 15 goals. Now, how many strikers have we had that have done that? DCL in the COVID season, Lukaku and Yakubu. In the past 25 years, they're the only 3 strikers to get 15 plus goals for us in a season, and that's the trajectory Beto was on if he played 30 games out of a 38-game season. And this isn't just going to be a Beto glaze, by the way, but just looking at it realistically, is if you look at his aerial duels and his ground duels, his percentages of them are actually better than Liam Delap's, or they're pretty much similar. So there's still a conversation to have. I know the eye test also is a part that comes into it. You know what I mean? It's not just about statistics, and he still does look raw. But sometimes
you say that though. You say that he looks raw, but I think it's very unfair. In my mind, I've just realised it now to make a direct comparison with DCL, because although we're putting him in a role and he's doing a similar kind of thing of being on his own and holding the ball up, DCL, Calvert-Lewin has a very fluid language style to his running, his turning, his movement, and Beto is a lot wilder and explosive, a bit like Decore. And I don't think it's necessarily to constantly say that he's raw. I mean, some of it could be match experience. You know, I don't want to put him under the microscope, but I don't necessarily think that there's that much work to do. It's not like you're going to have to dig down for it. It's like we've already at the right depth. You just have to polish it up in a way. Do you know what I'm trying to say? If we're going to use that rough diamond metaphor,
yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from, and I do agree as well. It is just he doesn't pass the eye test. I think for a lot of people that's quite important. He doesn't reach balls that Dom would get to, so maybe that's why he's not an away game kind of striker. You want that the fellow who's going to do the hard yards, which maybe has been a bit of a detriment to Dom as well in the long term for him. But it's just something that I've noticed, and something that I think it's really worth taking a look at, because a lot of people just don't like the look of Beto. When if you look at him statistically, I've looked at him compared to a lot of the transfer targets we've been linked with, around Liam Delap, Small at Villarreal, Omega at Strasbourg, a couple of other players and stuff. And statistic-wise, he's in and around still the same statistics as them players we're looking at, except he's already doing it in the Premier League. So it's just something that I've noticed, and that's why I'd like him to get a bit more game time, because he's either going to prove to us that that's a position that we might not need to strengthen in immediately. We might not need to spend that money on the lap, which could go on a younger striker. There's a young lad who plays for Olympiacos, but we won't get into that yet.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is, though, you think about that, and you think about these the players that we've got, but just for argument's sake, think of who Fulham have got. They've got Raul Jimenez, Adama Traore. I mean, okay, Harry Wilson's not awful. Well, he's not really I don't know is what he is. They've got that young Vinicius, Iwobi, obviously, and Reece Nelson and Silva. Like, and you just think that we are really at a threadbare squad. When you look at our first team squad, it is 25 max. You know, it's we're at the limit of what we can have, and a lot of them are on loan. And I'm just thinking
And half of them are goalkeepers.
But I try to look at the opposition, and I know how we're going to set up. It's going to be a very similar formation. We could argue about 2 or 3 positions or players again, and I say this, and it's rather frustrating because it doesn't give you any variation. Because all it really takes is for you to vary 3 or 4 players that have a key aspect difference in their game that are as strong, that can mix it up. Or you go, you know what, you sit back and play here for a while, and we don't necessarily do that. So I think it's kind of difficult to because Fulham can be explosive and they can be quick sorry, I went a bit off, but I'm just trying to compare the squads that we've got, and it's not. It doesn't fill me with glee to think of going to Craven Cottage and thinking that we could pick up 3 points. And at this point, it's I'm looking at the placings and thinking 2.8 million per position.
Yeah, no, that's important. I think this is, and we said this against Ipswich in the preview for that as well, is that you've got to balance giving players their fair chance, because that could also save you money with a team that's gonna win things. So what I mean by that is you don't just throw Roman Dixon in there because you think it's a chance for the young right back to get a go. You go, okay, we've got 3 right backs, we're all maybe fairly within a similar ability. Let's go with the one we need to give the best chance to, or the one who's got the most to prove, Patterson. We don't mix up the centre backs. There's no point bringing Keane in. It's not taking unnecessary risks. To be honest, I liked the starting 11 last week against Ipswich, and it's probably the same starting 11 I'd go for. Maybe in the second half, if Harrison Armstrong's able to play, I'd like to see him play.
Can I ask though? I mean, I like to see James Garner play, but I'm just curious seeing that thing about his social media profile going dark. Has he received abuse, or is that some sort of overture towards the end of the season, advice by advertising agency, whatever management, something?
Yeah, I mean, what I have noticed is past 2 weeks, a little bit, or past few weeks, the increased discourse in terms of his ability in the team. A lot of people are starting to question it more and more now. Maybe that's because we're less crap in other areas, that's highlighted a bit more as well.
I'm sorry, he's a versatile player that for several years was stuck out on the wing, did a defensive midfield job, played more attacking. He can ping a pass. He can hold up the ball. He knows how to turn a player and create a few yards. He's got great vision. He does have the right kind of aggression, but also composure. Okay, so he can't wonder strike and do all the things because he doesn't stand there. But he's not a standout player that goes, oh, he's amazing, he's done that. But equally, it's very rare that you can say he's to blame, or he hasn't put a shift in, or he's done something wrong, which for a centre midfielder, and his age, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit pissed off if you're telling me that there are fans out there tearing him apart.
No, I don't think people aren't tearing him apart. It is more a case of there's a bit of discourse in terms of where he is, in terms of if he should be our main centre midfield, because again, you compare him to Idrissa Gana Gueye, who has been at such a level. He's not at that level. I personally think going forward, he should be a squad player in the next couple of years. But for now, there's not. I'm not slagging him off. I'm not slating him every single week and anything like that. And I don't think most fans are. It's just maybe we're being a bit more critical in terms of positions with the opportunity that we find ourselves in, and probably the the standards are maybe growing higher and higher, which is only a positive thing. But just to answer the point in terms of the profile photo, I just think that's end of the season. He'll probably look to kind of do a little bit of a rebrand as they all do. That'll be all that is.
It could be. I mean, yeah, it could be slowly take off everything of Goodison, and over the summer we'll get all promo shots of you guys with Bramley Moore. You never know. But people like to construct a narrative that fits their opinions, prejudices, emotions, etc. So it is what it is. But anyway. Back to Everton being shit, he says. No, we're not. No, it's. I'm looking forward to it because I don't have any animosity towards Fulham, and you'd think that there might be with Iwobi and why didn't we get Willian, or maybe there was rumours that he snubbed us, and Anthony Robinson pissing it away and Marco Silva, but these aren't. I don't know. There wasn't really very much acrimony or bad blood between anybody in the nature of the departures So
yeah, there's no one to have contempt over. It'd be great if Anthony Robinson stayed, but let's be honest, when Anthony Robinson was coming through, Leighton Baines was coming to the end of his career, and Luca Dean was firing on all cylinders, so he was never going to get in. It's just a shame that he's gone away and he's done so well. Maybe in hindsight,
how dare he be successful, the absolute bastard.
And you know what? That's why he left us, is to get game time and to improve, and that's what he's done. You know what I mean? So he's done what's right for him. You've got to do what's right for your career. He's not ran down his contract for a year and then left us to go to Real Madrid for free. So fair play to him for being a decent personality fullback.
So looking forward to Saturday. I mean, I don't imagine us. Okay, we don't dominate possession. We're happy to defend and sit back and force the opposition to we're very well composed and founded and based. We're covering all the angles. We're well set up. We know their jobs, but we're away from home. So what is it? A case of working on the break? Are we going to see some attempts at I don't know. Are we going to see some attempts at shithousery at all this season? No, we're too good. We're too well behaved. We're like Boy Scouts.
That's what it was like under Moyes, wasn't it? We were very much the well behaved club, which probably may have been the difference between us getting a trophy under Moyes or not, was a little bit of the dark arts. But there's no need for us to be feisty, and we've seen that probably to our detriment against Ipswich, is that even though they were relegated, they wanted a bit of a scrap, and we weren't really up for it, and maybe it got a little bit to us. So it'll be a fairly tame effort. It'll probably be a fairly limp mid block, and then try and catch them on the break as and when we can. Hopefully, in my eyes, we go for pretty much the same starting 11. That's pretty much it. That's Fulham summed up in all of 22 minutes and 5 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to specify to anyone who's wondering, any Fulham fans maybe, we're just talking, or even people living from Fulham, we're talking about the preview. We're not summing Fulham itself up, because I'm sure there's a lovely flower show, isn't there? It's just
far too posh of an area for me to be wandering through there, mate. I'd be picked up in no time. So look, we've talked a bit about Fulham. There's not much else to go on about. In regards to, so there's a couple of little news articles that have come out over the past 24 hours, the past couple of days. A couple of them mentioned in the chat. One of them is in regards to Beto today being linked with a move to Leeds in the summer.
I mean, I think they'd like him. He's got a touch of the. Was it Jermaine Beckford?
Jermaine Beckford had a lot more ability. They were brilliant. Jermaine Beckford, fantastic footballer. That goal against Chelsea.
But I think it's that ability, that wildness for him to just be. So he's there, and then suddenly he's racing after the ball like a cheater. You know what I mean? There's an element to that.
His willingness to want to go for the ball. He put his heart and soul into it, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I mean, and look, if for example he goes to another Premier League team, you demand a premium. That could be a 35 million. We paid 30 million for him. He's somewhat proved himself in the league this season. If we can get our money back on even 25 million, I'd be happy. But if we can get even more and squeeze more money from Leeds, because let's be honest, they'll be spending all of their money this season, all their PSR threshold, they'll be spending that on trying to stay up again, because that's the most important part. So you can squeeze a bit more out of them, possibly.
I mean, look at what Kieran McKenna did with Ipswich, and he did a fantastic job. And even then, they sort of still struggled, and they had the right mindset, the right mentality. They were doing things, to an extent, they were doing them the right way, but it was just a step too far, I think.
I mean, look, two promotions on the bounce is unreal anyway, and to be as competitive as they were at the start of the season was fantastic. It's just gets to a point where them games come thick and fast, and you really start to see that gulf in class, then, don't you?
I mean, it's rather epitomised. I was just looking at Fulham, and you'd like to think if we'd have been a bit more clinical, if we'd have known how to close a game down or not make some silly mistakes. I mean, people could, the instances I'm talking about in the last several games, and people could say, "Oh, that's down to Keane and he came on," or when DCL came on. But we all know what I'm talking about, and it's examples of that why we haven't. I mean, you said Fulham don't draw games, but if we could have held on for draws when we've lost, or held on for wins when we've ended up drawing, because it's just epitomised the kind of season as well. And it wouldn't be right for us to do an Everton fan video without minimising Liverpool's victory. Again, it's things like, Fulham losing to Arsenal. Okay, I mean, maybe it's made it difficult, and then beating Liverpool at home, and then losing away, and then losing at home to Chelsea, but then winning away to Southampton. They are a very inconsistent team. Just to let people know, though, there has been a red card in the end of the first, towards the end of the first half in the playoff majiggery. Who's it? What's it?
In the playoff semi-final first leg.
That's the one.
I'm happy to help, mate. I'm happy to help.
I've just been messaged, so I'm about to check up on the deets and see what it is. Oh, United are losing to Athletic Club.
Oh, did they have a two? Was it a 2-0 lead going into this game?
3
3-goal lead. Well, fingers crossed for another 2 more.
Oh, indeed. There's been a red card. Wow.
Sheffield United just scored.
Wow, Dickie's been sent off.
Yeah. Another one then. Another. And this has gone on a couple of bits. We'll probably have this linked so many times throughout the off season. Richarlison linked with a move back to Everton. Where do you stand on that?
It's 1-0 to Sheffield United. I don't know. People can say, "Oh, never." Look, I'm not overly sentimental, so I can let a player go and admit when it's possible that they shouldn't come back. I also think that but because of that lack of sentimentality, I don't necessarily disagree with a player coming back if it's the right thing. Because PNR came back. We've had multiple players. Lukaku. We've had players that have been at Everton twice, and who cares? It's just, are they good enough? Are they better value? Are they going to offer something that we need or don't have? So I think he'd be willing to probably take a bit of a pay cut to get first team football, because it seems like he hasn't gelled or settled and he's out of favour. All this at Spurs. I don't know. You have to basically. I think the reality is, look, you're going to have to approach players with a bit of honesty, especially, look, Richarlison, did you like it at Everton? Yes. Do you want to come back? Yes. You're not going to come back for nothing. Here's what we can pay you.
I think the concern as well is, he's played, his injury record since he's gone to Spurs has been so bad. I think he's may have played like less games than Dominic Calvert-Lewin may have. So that's a big part of it. And one thing we can't have is someone who's always going to be on the medical table. Now, what we could say is, listen, Richie, you're going to come back. You're going to play a bit part role at first, get much considerably less wage.
Aruna Kone.
You what?
Aruna Kone.
Aruna Kone. Although he did score that goal against, was it Blackpool he scored that goal against? Was when we beat him like 4-5-2 or something, 4-5-1 or something like that.
5-3.
And 5-3.
Yeah. That was a beautiful game in the sunshine. That was a wonderful game, and Coleman had a very good day that day. That was a wonderful day, though.
I actually lived in Blackpool for about 18 months, and one of the years I was there was the year they got promoted to the Premier League. So I was there when they had Seamus Coleman, Charlie Adam, and do you know what? It was absolutely fantastic, mate. The atmosphere in Blackpool at the time was absolutely amazing. I'm actually getting to watch Coleman live from obviously Blackpool because I lived there instead of back home. It was great, and it was nice to see him in the Premier League that year. And fantastic, 8 goals in a game, unreal. Did Louis Saha get a hat trick in that one?
Don't remember that much. My memory doesn't extend that, working that way.
A couple of changs on the day, was it?
So would I have Richarlison back? I mean, it really depends on the budget and how much we've got to spend. But look, given the choice over him, or I mean, he can play in a number 10. He can play out wide. He can play up front. He's got the versatility to make himself available. And if another player is kind of forced to sort of semi-play out of position, he doesn't make them isolated. He brings them into the game. And for Richarlison's ability to read the game is is what makes him. I mean, for Christ's sake, yes, he was a Brazilian number 9, and there was a reason for that because people see a talent in him, and I can see it too. His ability to see what the game is asking of him. How can I make a mark in this game right now?
Yeah, I mean, John Gotti and Blue Sky, they both said that he'd take him back, but only on loan, and that's I agree with that again because of his injury record. There's rumours of it being a loan with an obligation. Now, if it is a loan with an obligation, I wouldn't mind that if it's in the same vein as Charlie Alcaraz, where
we've got drama in the Follow Everton chat.
there's a Jersey Mafia going on. So yeah, I'd do the same. Maybe even obligation to buy, but it's only once he's made a certain amount of appearances with us. I'd be happy with that because if he plays the games, and that means hopefully his body's got back to a fit level. And if he is, we were talking last week, weren't we, about how what's the squad lacking? They're lacking some leadership. They're lacking a bit of that blue blood. They're lacking the shithousery. So, and I think Richarlison brings that. He might not be a full leader because he's a little bit emotional, petulant, you could say, but that comes purely from the passion that he has for the club and the passion that he has for football, and the housery also works in there as well.
Roy's quoting me. Yes, the number of times we've been at home for waifs and strays with Dele Alli and Damari Gray and just everything. It's like, come, we accept you're sick and poor and injured, and yeah,
Everton in the community, innit?
We may as well have our statue of infirmity outside the ground. Yeah.
Sacred Heart FC.
Saint the Bingos. No, never mind. just, oh, never mind. I don't know what I'm saying.
So, well, look, Yann, we've been doing over half an hour. Have you got any idea for anything major that's going to happen on the weekend in terms of players playing that you're not expecting to play, anything like that? Anything you're expecting?
Well, no, I mean, I think the issue being, I mean, we've put loads of content out. There's going to be news and things, but for me, it always boils down to the press release. And because Everton have such a threadbare squad at the moment that it's not a case of, oh, are we going to see some rotation? Is he going to rest this? It's just a case of, is so and so fit? If so, are they higher up the pecking order? No, no change. It's cool. Goalkeepers on the bench, fine.
Have they got legs? Play.
Have they not got legs? So just yeah.
So I'll tell you what, right? So before we finish, then, my mate, I'm just going to throw this out there to the comments in the chat. Like we said, the first leg for one of the playoff games is happening now. Next one's on tomorrow. Chat, who do you want, or who would you most like to come up and see in the league next season in that third promotion spot? Let us know in the comments.
Sounds like your answer to that question is Steve Hartley and the Cockney Rebel. Who would you like to come up and see? Would it make you smile? Sorry,
Bristol City, come on down.
Yeah.
Yann,
just to let you know, though, that Sheffield United did score. It was a foul just inside the penalty area. Red card for Dickey, the Bristol City centre back. And Sheffield United scored from that, and it's now half-time 1-0.
And so out of the 4 teams in the playoffs, Yann, who would you say you'd be most happy or you most want to see come up into the league, and why?
There'd be a case for all of them. You could say Sheffield United because of Jagielka, DCL, and the ties there, and they have a bit of a history. Sunderland because it's been a long time, and let's see how they've gone full circle. I don't know who's the manager there now. Is it Paul or after?
No, it's French fella.
Right. Now it could go for Coventry. To be interesting to see how they've progressed. And is it Gyökeres went to Blackburn, and now that Lampard's the manager? But then again, having said that, also bearing in mind they're now a man down and they're finishing 6th, and I've got underdog syndrome, and also because they haven't been in the top flight of football for bloody years. I just can't help it. It'd be fantastic if City turned it around, Bristol City, because yeah. But having said that, out of the clubs, they probably in the modern era of football. I mean, John Gotti's just said this. Sunderland, to say, if I don't want to minimise it, but if you talk about big clubs, they've all got history, but I'd argue that Sunderland, are probably the ones that a lot of fans in the modern era Premier League era would recognise. If not them, Sheffield United. Coventry were last in the 90s. But I mean, having said that, though, Sheffield United probably deserve it the most for being 90 points and literally just being unassailable with against Leeds and Burnley, or Leeds and Burnley's lead. So what about you? Who do you want to see?
I mean, I could order it for you, to be fair. Number one would be Sunderland. I like Sunderland. I think there's a little bit of an affinity there. The whole thing with Bradley Lowry. We developed some emotional ties there with Sunderland, didn't we? I like them. I like the players. And
also, it's because, forgive me for saying this, I'm not saying that every Evertonian agrees, and I'm not saying this in particular that it's necessarily my sentiment, but it's happened in the last 5 or 10 years as an Evertonian, because fuck Newcastle, that's why.
Yeah, I don't know where this sort of rivalry stem from, but it probably, that's also gravitated it towards as well. Jordan Pickford's probably, it coincided with that time, didn't it? So
yeah,
that fella just gravitates towards Newcastle hate, and it probably affects us. So that's probably brought us even closer to Sunderland. For them, they'd be number one choice. Although it would be probably better for some of the players that would after, because they've got quite a few attractive players. I
suppose it's the docking link as well, because Sunderland's colours, or is it Ajax's colours are after Sunderland, or Sunderland are after Ajax, or Feyenoord, or something like that. And that's because of the docking history, and obviously Everton have a similar impact around the world. And
I know Rotterdam, the colours in Rotterdam were always red, white, and black. Now I know it's a little bit different now with Feyenoord, but Sparta Rotterdam, they've got the same colours as well.
Yeah, but I think it's to do with an homage to Sunderland.
I didn't know that. I guess because obviously their dock on the east of the country is pretty much parallel with Netherlands. So, yeah. And I'm assuming, well, I mean, if anyone's watched Only Fools and Horses, when they get the ferry across, that's where they go from, the northeast to Holland. So, number two would be Coventry, because I think the story would be great. I think, what was it they got? Who was it who almost got relegated? And they had Hull or something had more wins this season than Coventry do, and yet Coventry were about to get, or less losses, and Coventry were the ones in the playoffs, and Hull were fighting for relegation. Also, look, I don't think he was great with us, but I also do like Frank Lampard. I thought he was quite likeable. He done his best to get the fans on board, and I think without that, we'd have probably gone down that season. It wasn't his tactics, it was his man management, and I'm not talking 11 men, 25 men. I'm talking 50, 60,000 men and women, week in, week out.
It seemed that the one failing, and I think this was probably the tipping point, even if there were enough reasons that would have built up, was that he had too much of a relaxed, blasé attitude when Everton are not in a position that's the appropriate attitude to adopt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Coventry fans might argue against this because he come in as that, but he's not a wartime manager.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? He's not a manager drag you through the mire, which probably was what Dyche was, and again was what we needed at the time, short term. So, but Coventry fans will argue that because they were in relegation trouble when he joined, and the form they've just hit by climbing so far up the table and going into playoff contention, and that there's certainly a realistic, viable option for it. Also, Ellis Sims plays up front for them as well, so it'd be nice to see him get some kudos.
Yeah. So
although, I don't think he'll start for them in the Premier League next season. I don't think he's at that level.
It's rather frustrating though to see for more ex-Everton players or players that, it's like, when's Tom Cannon gonna? Yeah, never mind.
Well, he might start for Leicester next season without Jamie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. When's he going to come and bite us on the ass? Probably in a cup game or something. Yeah. So who's your number three then? So you got Sunderland, Coventry, and
Bristol City. Like you said, the underdog thing. They've not been in the league for in the top division for a long while. And to be honest, I've never got a chance to go to an away game. So
you don't like Sheffield United?
I don't know. It's just obviously it would have been the same three going down or the same three coming up. So, and that's my only reasoning for it. I actually don't dislike Sheffield. I've met a lot of people from Sheffield, and they're great people. They might just be the Wednesday fans though. Yeah, no, I don't dislike them. And if they do come up, is there ever a more bang on transfer to happen than Calvert-Lewin going to them for free?
What do you mean for free?
Well, his contract runs out with us, doesn't it? So he'd go to them for free on a Bosman.
That's true. You just have to wonder: is there any world that it would somehow be financially and accounting wise beneficial to get him to sign a 1-year contract and then sell him? Is there anyone that would knowingly do that?
Done it in the past. Yeah, I'm pretty sure teams have done it in the past. I wanted us to do it in the summer with Decore, triggering his extension because he wouldn't have had a choice in it for this year, and then just sell him to Saudi for 20 million.
Yeah, but you've got to accept that. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? It's that window of tolerance that if players walk out here, there, and orchestrate their own moves away and transfers, should clubs treat them as disposable and as mercenaries? But then you have to wonder. Then it's a gradual decline, isn't it? Meet me halfway, says the unreasonable man, and the window shifts. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I mean, you've got a. Football is becoming always has been, but it's becoming more and more ruthless businessman's capital game, innit? Whereas probably goes a little bit against me as a person. So I'd like us to be nicer to players, but I also lack that sentiment in the same way that you do. I just want to say I agree. My main reason for Sheffield United, maybe not the boring, but the yo-yo club. They've gone up, they've come down, they'll do the same, and it's the same three going up as the same three coming down. And I want something different. Sunderland will be refreshing again. Coventry will be refreshing. City will, and they will go straight back down though.
Unless you're going to have a system like the American system, which we're not going to, which doesn't see any promotion and relegation. If there is truly a mechanisms of parity and equality in the football pyramid, we would have seen a lot more mobility and rotation in teams winning the league, qualifying for Europe, winning and progressing in cup rounds, and different teams getting relegated and promoted. As it is, there is a huge divide that. Yeah, but now we're going to get into the politics of football, which I'm sure there's going to be different views. And the only commonality that I think we might have is that we'll all agree that it's a bit shit because it benefits other teams and penalises anyone else who's not at the top. And just as much as teams that are lower than us in the league structure will look at Everton and go, well, at least they have the Premier League and TV income to afford a new stadium. Like, yeah, we have a leg up over so many other teams, but it's still not fair for everyone involved. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
Because look at Fulham. To any Fulham fan watching or thinking of this, like they might have because their location is a great opportunity and a draw because you get players who might not want to go to a team of their performance stature, but because they're in London, you get the whole London thing. You know what I'm saying? And even then, it projects you onto a higher stage, being seen around and the derbies and all these kind of things. Now. The thing is, though, what's the capacity at Craven Cottage? Isn't it like 26,000, 29 or something?
I think it's roughly 30,000, yeah.
Yeah, and but in all seriousness, when you think about going forward, how if you're talking about dynasties in 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time, when they look back, and you think about like Sunderland moved stadiums to the Stadium of Light, and presumably that kept them competitive to a certain but above a certain level. What option do Fulham have? Because the premium for grounds, I mean, no one's going to have several hundred square yards or whatever it is of to build a football stadium, and if they are, they're going to go, okay, well, give us 50 million for luxury apartments just for the land, and no.
Yeah, and like I said, this is I mean, look at the spacing. Spurs got lucky with theirs. Chelsea have not been able to move grounds; they've just been able to extend Stamford Bridge. I think the teams like Spurs and Arsenal, who moved a little bit earlier, I think they're the lucky ones. Other teams are really going to struggle.
But
you have to move outside of London to get that kind of space.
Spurs have just rejigged their stadium a little bit. They haven't moved, have they?
No. But they increased the space massively, didn't they? Whereas Chelsea's only a small extension. It's much more difficult to do so. But yeah, look, in terms of the space in London, there's nothing there for a team like Fulham to expand into, especially on the Thames as they are. It's even like.
And considering though, I mean, you know, should they want to move forward, there'll be another Archibald Leach traditional stanchion type, like Goodison and like Villa Park and stuff. They have elements of that, and there's no way that you can really massively overhaul that without destroying it. And I think it's just the forward progress of football.
Yeah,
which is sad. I mean, yeah. Sorry, it's very difficult to not talk about all the other things that's come up today and everything. And yeah,
but look, we're getting into that time now where it's getting the busy period. So
yes, and it is the last. It's about to, I think. Whereas I think the second half has just kicked off for people watching. I believe it's on. Let me have a look. Is it Sky?
Sky Sports, yeah, should be main event, I think.
Well, there you go. For everyone watching or not watching, I believe it should still be 1-0 unless goals have been allocated over half time. But yeah, well, you never know.
Yeah, should we wrap it up there, Yann?
I mean, it's always a good idea to wrap it up. Better safe than sorry.
Best safe, that's it, lad. And if anyone in the comments wants to see our movie star Yann in action, the club put out a video fairly recently.
What?
With a small cameo of you. Isn't it a cameo of you outside the Hot Walk or something like that? Do you not see the message? You having a cigarette outside the stadium?
Oh no, Christ! That wasn't the club. That was a
What
fellow
was
who
the
made
club?
like a video. No,
I know
he'd
which
done
one.
that video.
Yeah.
But that's from a few years ago. Actually, no, that was used in a promotional video of something else elsewhere. It was me and my mate Eddie, and I've got to give props out to Eddie. This guy, he's a big Evertonian, but he doesn't make it to many matches. He grew up behind the Tommy Frost off County Road, and he's a top bloke. He's just broken into like stunting and work over in America, and he's actually he's one of the stuntmen in Gladiator 2. So he got nominated for that, and he's just kicking off, and he's a top bloke. And I could tell you more, but he's a mad Evertonian. Yeah. So he'll be flying the blue flag wherever he is at the moment, doing filming and all that kind of stuff.
Rock and roll is right. Big up Eddie. Sound. Listen, before we go, before Mr. Blue Skies kills me for missing out, predictions. What's your final prediction?
I'm going to say 1-0 McNeil because that's all we're really going to hope for, I reckon.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I mean, one team doesn't stop drawing, the other team can't draw. Which way is it going to be? I'm going to go similar to Mr. Blue Skies. I think if anyone does win, it'll be us. We've not lost too many games, so and I reckon there'll be more than one goal. So yeah, 2-1 Everton. I agree. I don't agree on the goal scorers, but 2-1 Everton.
There we go.
And yeah, we've got a few of them coming in. John Gotti, Fulham 24, Everton 1. I think his finger slipped there. I think it was meant to be 24-0, wasn't it?
God, you make me laugh, mate. Well, 2-1.
24-1.
Wormy hasn't even gone for a score. He's just gone, we're getting effed in the A.
Smash us 2-2.
Oh, no, that's not. 6 hat-tricks. Robinson gets the... Okay. Oh, Peter. Go home, Peter. There we go. Eugene's making up for you, Peter. Where's Emma? Is Emma still with us? What's your prediction, Emma? James Graham. I believe we've spoken to you before. You come up with some considered. I think maybe I've seen 1 or 2 of your tweets. So if that's some insider knowledge, 3-2. Is that 3-2 Everton or 3-2 to the home team?
We'll say 3-2 Everton, eh?
There we go. Emma's agreed with me 1-0. Look,
there we go.
I think the consensus is an Everton win. So there we go. Mine's at ease. All good. Kushti, whatever you want to say.
Buzzing. Rock and roll sound. Yes, James, lad. Right, well, listen, we'll get off. If anyone wants to watch the playoffs, see who potentially could be playing us and probably beating us next season as one of their only wins of the season. Check the playoff game that's on now. But apart from that, up the toffees, eh?
Yes, up the toffees. And I really hope, to be fair, look, let's put it this way. I just want to say a message to the away fans. and I really hope you enjoy this, and I really hope we get the win, because for the fans that go the away games, it is a spiritual thing. It's a different thing entirely. And not only that, though, those that go, there's going to be a difference in an emotion around this season. And I think this game is going to be surprisingly difficult for them, because Newcastle, the end of the season, and with it being the last game after leaving Goodison, it's somehow, maybe I think it's going to feel a bit difficult. So, or different. And it's going to feel maybe a little bit out of body experience. So this one's going to be, I think, I don't know, from all the people that I've said as well, they seem to prefer going down to sunny Craven Cottage, Fulham, than it would be going up to St James's Park and climbing up a bloody 60-degree incline to sit at the back and in the cold whipping in off the North Sea. I just, yeah. And I hope they give it loud and do us proud. So, yeah, up the fucking toffees.
Up the toffees, let's have it.
See you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Like, subscribe, do all this. Join us for post-match, pre-match, all that kind of stuff. And we will be doing more memories videos. And we've got a great one coming up with Wes and Robbie are coming back. Oh, my God. In case you didn't know, spread the word. Only for the one video, guesting, but, like Father Christmas, once a year. On that note, catch you soon, Robbie. Up the
Peace out,
toffees.
guys.